I am so thrilled and blessed to have a really wonderful guest here today. We're very lucky to have with us the wonderful Lynn McLean, and Lynn has an incredible resume. She is the founder and managing director of EMR Australia Proprietary Limited, and this is one of Australia's leading business, if not the Australia's leading business. Is it the leading business in Australia?
I like to think so, but I'm sure there are others who would argue.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, in EMF Safety and has been helping Australians for nearly 30 years. The company has the best information and best products to ensure best solutions for your EMF safety for both the home, workplace, and for your lifestyle. Uh, Lynn is Australia's foremost EMF consultant with 3 decades of experience. She has a very extensive resume, trained as an electrical engineer and EMF consultant. Originally, she is twice qualified, experienced teacher trainer. She's the author of 4 books on this issue, the co-author of papers. She's been included in extensive studies. She was executive officer of the EMR Association of Australia, and on it goes. So basically, we're very lucky to have Lynn here to share with us this very important issue that everyone is concerned about, it seems, at the moment, which is EMR safety, safety with radiation. And to have an authority in this issue is really important because there's a lot of disinformation in this area as well. So, huge welcome, Lynn. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited also to share with the viewers today my information about what I've experienced by wearing your special EMF protecting shielding scarf. And it's very, very exciting to share that with everyone. But I'd firstly like to start by welcoming you and asking you, Lynn, what was it that first got you involved in this area of EMR safety? What inspired you and motivated you to be so incredibly passionate and focused by creating your own business to help protect people on this issue?
It's a really long story, Nadine, but I guess in a way, the short version of it is that I accidentally got into it, and then as I started to have sort of a responsibility for it, I went to a conference in Germany, and it was in Munich. And when I was at uni, I'd worked just south of Munich. And so Munich was a really special place for me. And I thought, oh, this conference, it would be wonderful. If only I could get there, if only I had the funds to do it. And then magically funds just materialized to make that trip possible. So I went to the conference. I heard top speakers from all around the world speaking. It was a conference put on by the World Health Organization. And I met I met these really special people. And then after that, I had a couple of days still in the south of Germany, around Bavaria, revisiting the old haunts from when I'd worked there. And it was the most magical experience. Everything that could possibly go right went right. It was blissful, really. And then I came back to Sydney, and I knew from that experience that it was almost like it was a gift that had been given to me. It was like saying, okay, you're in the right place now, you're doing the right thing. And then, of course, you know, things started to change. But because of that experience, I've never lost hold of it. It still exists in my memory so strongly, and I know that I'm meant to be doing this work. And so when things get really, really, really difficult, I just have to go back to that place and remember, this is what I was given. This is how I got into it. I know there's a purpose to it. And even though it seems like, well, what am I doing this for? I know that there's some value. And I must say, I was really grateful to have a great electrical engineer. You mentioned electrical engineering before, and he was the person who trained me in this area. So I've had a lot of opportunities given to me that I'm very grateful for. And I should say too that when I got back to Sydney, we started up an Australia-wide organisation that only had about 50 people in it at that time, but there were people who were really suffering from electromagnetic fields, and there was basically nowhere else they could go to get information. So for me, that was really important that we had something that we could do, we could say to help them. And it was a big learning experience for me to try and learn what it is that would answer their questions. And so that's how my first book happened too.
So what year was that roughly when that happened? Because we know now so much more about, I guess, about the impacts of EMFs. But
Yeah.
when that first happened?
That conference was in November 1996.
Ah,
So,
yes,
yeah.
a long time ago. Yes, yes. So that was sort of in the early days, I guess, of people's awakening in this issue. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And look, back then, people were concerned about power lines. We didn't have the mobile phones and the mobile phone towers and the Wi-Fi to the extent that we do now. So all of those technologies were rolled out after that time. So I was sort of lucky in a way to get involved in it before it it really accelerated because it's allowed me to learn over time.
Sure, sure. Well, you are such an authority on this issue. I'm excited to explore it with you and ask you lots of questions so that people can have more information, which is so important right now. Um, First of all, I wanted to ask you, what is wireless radiation and why should we care about it?
Well, wireless radiation is the radiation that comes from all of our wireless devices. So its real name is electromagnetic radiation or radiofrequency radiation, but I call it wireless radiation because I think people have got a clearer picture of what that is. But it comes from our mobile phones, our mobile phone towers, our cordless phones, our baby monitors, our wireless modems and routers, and all of those devices that
Even fridges.
well, fridges can, a lot of smart devices, a lot of appliances now are becoming smart, so they've got the ability to transmit signals. So that's a bit of a concern too.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Well, we're sort of intermingling in a sea of it then, aren't we? So it's all around us. And I know that you have a lot of emphasis on focusing on clearing the energy in your personal space, in your home space, because a lot of people talk about the issues with the towers and things like that, but we spend so much time in our homes that really that is the key area that we want to focus on eliminating as much as possible the EMF. So what can you say to that, Lynn?
Yeah, look, I think what's happening in the home is critical because when I go into homes, which I do regularly to measure, not just to intrude, uh, the biggest sources of radiation that I find even if there's a mobile phone tower out there, not very far away, the biggest sources are people's mobile phones and their wireless modem routers. Now, there's so much radiation coming from those that you can almost think, well, why would I even worry about the phone tower when I've got these two transmitters right near my body, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if we want to reduce our exposure, then it's a bit like charity. It starts at home. And we've got complete power over that. So, I think that should feel good that we can do so much to reduce our exposure.
So what would you suggest for example, a router? How do we eliminate, the issues there with the EMFs or at least
Well,
reduce them?
yeah, well, you can eliminate it. So the problem with the modem router is the amount of radiation that it's putting out, and a lot of them don't turn off. So people are always telling me, but I pressed the off button, sorry, I pressed the off button for the Wi-Fi, and it's still putting out radiation. So turning things off these days, even turning a mobile phone off, does not necessarily turn off the radiation. So uh, that's the problem with them, that they're there, they're emitting a lot, and it's often 24/7. So the thing is, we don't actually need radiation to have internet. We don't need Wi-Fi to have internet. So what we at EMR Australia do, we have radiation-free modem routers, which is what I've got right down here and what I'm talking to you on. So I'm still accessing the internet. I can still use a phone line, but there's no radiation from any of that.
That's brilliant. Does that work with Starlink as well?
Ah, with Starlink, it's a bit trickier. It's because our equipment has to be able to communicate with the equipment in the provider's equipment, and it's Starlink. It doesn't work terribly well with. So if there's another provider, yes, we can do it.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so what are some other ways maybe that people can shield their homes from this issue?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is not so much shielding, but eliminating.
Right.
So I get people all the time saying, "Oh, look, there's a phone tower out there. I'm going to shield my home." And I say, "Well, have you got Wi-Fi?" And they say, "Yes." So think of it like this. You've got, let's say your house is a box and you shield it perfectly. So we have shielding products. We've got paints and shielding curtains and fabrics and window films and canopies and things. But let's say you shield that box perfectly and you're inside it. Now, the way shielding works is it reflects the signal. So any signal from the phone tower is going to bounce on that shielded surface and bounce out again, which is great. But if you've got Wi-Fi,
Mm,
maybe people to think about what would be happening. You've got this shielded room,
yeah,
the Wi-Fi's inside, the Wi-Fi's bouncing on the wall, bouncing, bouncing, bouncing.
can't go
It's
out because it.
exactly, it can't go out and it's reflecting. So you've got signals, all over the place. So you can potentially make your exposure worse by shielding. And we had this case of a man who rang me up and he was really, really angry. He said, "Look, I've paid all this money and I've shielded this room." And I have to say he did not get the shielding from us. This is a different company who did this job for him. They shielded his room. And then he said his mother was lying in the bed in this room using a mobile phone all the time because she was not able to get out very well. So she, imagine, had the mobile phone against her head, transmitting the signal against the shielded wall. It's bouncing in. And the phone has to operate at higher power because it's harder. It's trying to get that signal out to the phone tower and it's having trouble doing that. So now you've got a high power phone that's sending its signal bouncing all around the room. Now you can, well, she got very sick. So that's why the man was so upset. So I think with shielding, we have to be really, really cautious. And although I sell shielding, I say do it as a last resort and only if you've talked to us in great depths beforehand and we know that it's the right solution. Because the biggest problems, as I say, are the stuff inside the homes that we've bought and that are transmitting signals anyway. And we can deal with that. We can eliminate that. So we can eliminate most of our exposure.
That's fantastic. Well, that's really, really important. Do, do crystals help play a part in um, sort of suppressing the EMFs and the radiation? Do you have any information on that?
No, they don't because they're not making any changes to the radiation. So there are lots of things around us, like crystals and baked flowers, plants, lots of things that give out energy and that have good energy and that are good for us.
Mhm.
They're there and they're doing their thing, but the radiation's still there too.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about eliminating the radiation that's in your personal space. For me, it's interesting because I'm currently in a caravan and it's like a Faraday cage. So, I have to be quite mindful of these issues so that I don't get too much exposure, I think, too. Uh,
That's right. Yeah. So a caravan is great for keeping the external stuff out, but you don't want to have the internal stuff in there. And that goes for homes too that have got a lot of metal around them, like a metal roof. So you have to be aware that those signals are bouncing around.
Yes, and I do have Starlink as well, which is a bit tricky. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'd like to share with the audience that I have been very blessed to have a trial of this scarf. Now, please tell us about this scarf. But at first, before you do that, Lynn, I'd like to share with everyone listening the incredible results. It actually really surprised me that it did impact me so much wearing this scarf. So I've been wearing it a lot, and prior to wearing it, I've had a bit of asthma, a bit of wheezing with my breath, with my respiratory system. But I've noticed and my partner as well, a huge reduction and just about gone of any sort of asthma symptoms, wheezing, breathing issues, when I'm out walking or when I've been in the caravan as well. So it's obviously protecting that area. I wear my scarf around, like this around my throat and then around the front here, and your sort of lungs and things. And I'm telling people that I'm not making this up. It really has made a huge difference in terms of my overall health. Uh, and I am surprised how much it has actually helped me. So it's got, I know, copper in it to help. But please tell us about this scarf. It's quite magical.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that. Yeah, that's a lovely fabric. We love that. It's called Ultima fabric, and it's a shielding fabric. So what it is, it's cotton, but it has strands of silver through it. And what it does is it's the metal threads that provide the shielding and help reflect the signal. So it's really effective at blocking radiation. And people use it to make curtains and things like that. And you can if you wear it in clothing, then what it's doing is it's protecting that part of the body that's under it from exposure. Now, what's really interesting that you said that you had asthma. Well, as far as I know, asthma it's got to do with mast cells. So if mast cells are activated, they cause asthma type symptoms. What's interesting is that this kind of radiation we're talking about has been shown to activate mast cells. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm sensitive. I being an energy, I've worked with energy healing and that sort of thing. I'm very sensitive to energy, and I pick up things easily, and I also can shift things easily as well, which is
Mm.
it's like a positive and a negative as well. But so when I've been wearing this, I've noticed a huge difference, and I'm able to pick up these things quite clearly. So um that is, and the negative that it has created, that impact on me without the scarf, the effects of the EMFs. And I know as well, because of the scarf and the impact it's had on me, that a lot of the issue obviously then is the EMFs and the radiation around me. I'm in a little city here. There are, towers pretty much everywhere you go anyway these days. And so it is something that I am aware that has been impacting me. And now I know how much, because this scarf has made such a difference.
Yeah, as I said, I'm really thrilled to hear that. But to me, it makes sense because we get lots of people telling us, I wore the t-shirt. We've got shooting t-shirts as well, and I feel better, or I can go into areas where I couldn't go before, or my symptoms have reduced, or I took my mobile phone out of my hip pocket and the hip pain that I had disappeared, and things like that. So we know that there's a real connection between what people are experiencing and their exposure. And I think the problem is that a lot of people probably don't know that. So you get home from work at the end of the day and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I feel terrible. I'm exhausted. See, people listening might resonate with this. I'm exhausted. I'm stressed. My brain has turned to mush. I can't concentrate. I've got headaches, all those sorts of symptoms, and think, oh, well, it's just because I've been at work. Well, maybe not, because those are the sorts of symptoms that are associated with this kind of exposure. So reducing exposure can actually make people feel a lot better. And I now think, well, why would I want to expose myself to stuff unnecessarily that's really, we know, has harmful effects on the body, when we've got a choice and we can live without it if we want to. So can I show you a little thing?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So how do we know how much radiations in our environment. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I'm going to press this button and show you, because this is my house. Can you see the numbers there?
No, it's a bit blurry because of the background. If you put it in front of your body, Lynn, hold
Ah,
it in front of your body, yes, we might be able to see a bit better, and just hold it up a little bit. Uh,
yeah.
it's hard to see the numbers. We can, uh,
Okay, that's
yes,
right. I'll tell you what the numbers are if I turn around.
yeah,
So what this is showing is that the maximum level, and this is radiation measured in units called microwatts per meter squared, is 10. So that's the peak that it's gone up to. But you can see by the green light
yes. If
that
you
it's
hold it
down
up
in
a
the green.
bit
Oh,
higher, Lynn. Yep, perfect.
yep. It's down in the green zone. It's not up in the red zone, which is the other
Yes,
end.
the
So
safe zone.
just yeah, that's right. So what this shows is that the levels are really low. Now I go into homes and I often measure where I had 10,
Wow.
a million microwatts per meter square. And
And
the
what's
difference
that attributed to? Is that the router specifically, do you think? Or,
largely, but there's nothing wireless in my home.
yeah,
So I've got complete control over what comes in here. And
yes.
if I don't bring anything wireless in, then there's virtually nothing. And that's true for lots of people's homes. And if there were something coming in, let's say there was a phone tower right beside me or something, then I could put shielding up and I could still get the levels down. But it's because I don't have anything wireless inside
So,
that is the key thing.
so where are you based, Lynn? Because you said that you can go to people's homes and give them guidance. Where are you based exactly so people know?
I'm in Sydney, but we do help people all over Australia too, because we've got remote services too.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. I have a question for you because I guess with questions too that I'm asking, people might be able to relate, and then they're able to, get the information from that. So my personal question is, I have my own mobile phone which I have protection on, a different protection on, and so that's okay. But I have a work phone that I have to work with 2 to 3 days a week. And that has no protection on it, and they're not allowing me to put protection on it because it's a work phone that is used in general, and the person that owns the phone, the head of the business, doesn't want to put protection on it. Is there any suggestions for something like that I could do?
We've got mobile phone cases. So let me pull one out.
Yeah.
So my Oh, that's great. I can't even find my mobile phone. So that shows you how often I use it. But what it is, it's a case that when you close up the case in front of the phone, what it does is it reduces the amount of radiation that's absorbed into the body. So if you hold your phone up to your ear, for example, and there's shielding between, on the case, it stops all of that radiation going in. The radiation is still going to be present. There is nothing you can do with a mobile phone that stops radiation being present.
Right.
It's if it completely stopped it, you wouldn't be able to talk to the phone tower.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're connecting with the phone tower, you know there's still radiation. So the thing about the phone is to keep it as far away from you as you possibly can,
Yeah.
and use it on speaker mode and use it as little as possible. So for some people, if you're out and about, you might need it more. But for some people who work in an office, you could use a landline phone. If you've
Sure.
got a home office,
Yeah.
that's the sort
No,
of thing you could set up.
this is just the only phone we can use for this, but I'll
Yeah,
have to get a case. That sounds like a great solution
yeah.
for this issue because I can't stick anything on it or do anything like that. Yeah,
Well, a lot of stickers or a lot of products being sold that don't actually work, and there are some products being sold that make things worse. So always check that there are test reports that show that whatever you buy actually does what people claim that it's going to do.
and this is why your products are so good because you have so much knowledge in this area. You're saying things like, I mean, how do people themselves test it? Do you recommend they do muscle testing, anything like that? How do people find for themselves that it works, when they're trialing these products?
Look, my view is you could say that I'm biased, but my view is that you need to measure because that's the only way you can tell. And a lot of people ring me up and say, look, I know I'm being exposed, I can feel it. Well, that might be true, but the problem is you've got different fields in your house. Everybody, no doubt, has got an electric field, a magnetic field, and a radio frequency field. So the fact you can, and then there are all sorts of other energies that could be present in a house too. So the fact that you can field something doesn't give us the information we need. What we need to know is which of those fields to start with and where it is so we can work out where it's coming from. And if we know where it's coming from, we can deal with it.
So you're saying that you can work remotely. So how does that work where you work remotely and you work all these things out?
Well, one of the things that we've got is we've got a test kit that people can hire. So we post it out to people. We've got instructions. You can do the testing in your home if you want to. So you've got those measurements. You can send them back to us by email, whatever. And then we can talk you through and say, okay, well, you've got this here. And so this is what you can do about it. But a lot of the time we can just tell because if people tell us this is what's present in my home and we get them to draw us a little diagram, then we know that this device is going to do such and such and that the way of dealing with that is whatever it might be. So even though we don't always have measurements, there's a lot that you can tell people that's going to help them reduce their exposure.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow. It is an issue that is different for everyone, isn't it? So it's
Oh, yeah. 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 And that's the thing. And people will think, I've got a smart meter. I'm going to ring up and get the solution for a smart meter. And so that's what they asked me for. But it's not that easy because a smart meter has potentially got those three fields, electric, magnetic, radio frequency. It depends on where it is. It depends on where your bed is. It depends on what technology you're using in your home. It depends on what kind of meter you've got. It depends on how old your home is. All of those things have bearing on what's going on from that smart meter and your options for dealing with it. So there's no such thing as buy this, stick it in, and all your problems will go away. It is unfortunately more complicated than that. And, we want to get it right.
That's right. And then on top of that, you've got the individual biochemistry of each person that's going to respond differently to the influences in their field. So for
Yeah.
me being sensitive, it's like really obvious for me. Yeah, yeah. So
That's
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, that's so true. And I'm glad that you raised that because people will say, well, how much radiation is safe? And again, as you say, there's no answer because what that person can tolerate is vastly different from what that person can tolerate. And then we've got babies, we've got fetuses, we've got people who are really sick, with people with chronic diseases. Their level of tolerance is going to be different for everyone. And we get families where one person will say, I'm sensitive, but no one else in the home is, so they don't believe me. Just because they're not affected, they're not realizing that this person might be. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
we're all,
Well, I'm
we're
very
all
excited. Oh, sorry. There's a bit of a time lag, so it's hard to. I thought you'd finished. Did you want to say something else?
Oh, no, just that we're all different. And it's a bit like allergies, isn't it? Someone's got a peanut allergy and somebody hasn't. It doesn't mean that the person with a peanut allergy hasn't got a genuine problem.
Yes, absolutely. Um, what I also wanted to share, which I'm really excited about for this audience that are listening today, is that Lynn has very kindly offered a discount on her products to everyone who's watching. So all the information about Lynn's company is below in the description. It's great also that this company is an Australia-based company too, Lynn. So well done for that as well, because I don't imagine that there would be a lot of companies in Australia doing this. I mean, some, but compared to overseas, for example, is that true?
Yeah, I think Australia certainly lags behind some countries in awareness, and we do need to necessarily import things from overseas, but our canopies, for example, are made in Australia, so that's something that we're pretty pleased about.
It's fantastic. And you have a whole range of things available, as mentioned. So please, everyone, check out all the products and support this wonderful company that is making a difference to health. And, for me, this is one of the key factors that is influencing our health at this time. And so we need to all sort of step up in our knowledge and be mindful of what is happening in the world around us. There was a recent video by a man called Dave O'Neiggs. People might be aware of him, and he was on the Gold Coast. And he talked about how when he got to the Gold Coast, all of a sudden he had all this really chronic, severe flu-like symptoms for at least 24 hours. He was severely sick when he arrived there and got there. And then it took him that time to recover. And then when he left, it went away pretty quickly. And he attributes it himself with his intuition and everything to the influences of EMFs and radiation and things on the Gold Coast. Now the Gold Coast has a lot of surveillance and a lot of that sort of stuff there as well, so it hasn't been proven or tested to be 100% related to that, but that was his take on the situation. And I think that that is also highly plausible that was the situation for him that created that lack of severe flu. But so, all that sort of things happening. There was another example too, Lynn, of I'll just share that my partner's father many years ago was in a hospital, and he was in a cancer ward for brain cancer, and it was full of teenagers and younger sort of people. And he said, "Oh, why have all these younger people got brain cancer?" And the doctor that was in charge of the ward said it, two words: mobile phones.
Mm.
All
Yeah.
attributed to mobile phones. So, we do need to really take this so very seriously now. And we haven't even got to the topic. I mean, I'd love to invite you back, Lynn, and talk more about this because there's so much to talk about. But we haven't even got to the topic of 5G, and people are concerned about the towers. And how in the phones, they say they're being used with 5G, but there's no 5G area in the phones that's being used. When they look at it, so it doesn't actually access 5G. The towers are potentially being used for other things, but I mean that's a whole minefield. We won't go there now. But did you have anything that you wanted to share, like overall on this issue, Lynn, that you think is really important?
Just that, excuse me, I think that it's really important to take into consideration the fact that we are being exposed. The fact that a device is you can't see what's coming from it doesn't mean there isn't something coming from it. So I think if you're aware of that, and if you can think about that for all of the devices that are around you, maybe in your home or that your kids are using or whatever, then you can start to make decisions about it. And what I want people to realize is that basically the power is yours. You can make your home safe, and we can help you make your home safe. But if you are using safe technologies, which do exist, then you don't need to use the unsafe technologies. And as you said before, kids with brain tumor, the brain tumor surgeon, Charlie Teo, was warning about brain tumors in, I think it was 1997. I remember reporting all sorts of quotes that he came out with about that time, about the fact that this radiation is leading to brain tumors, and there's been a lot of research that's showing that. But still, I don't think that we've made that connection. By we, I mean the Australian population. I don't think that we're realizing that
How
that's what's
serious it is.
happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree
yeah.
with you, Lynn. And, I couldn't be more passionate in a sense about this because my dearest friend, she just recently died within a year of a brain tumor, and she said to me just before she passed, I said, "Look, I do feel it was to do with the phone." And she said, "Absolutely." And I told her nonstop for years. I said, "You've got to get some sort of protection on your phone." She used her phone. She was very sensitive, and she attributes the brain tumor to her phone as well. So and now she's not here with us. So, I just hope that this gets people to really sit up and take notice and do what they can to keep their homes for themselves, and also children who have very vulnerable brains, keep the homes safe for the children as well.
Yeah, that's right. We're getting rid of chemicals from the home because we know that that's not safe. We're putting plants around the home to improve the energy. So this is just another one of those things that
That's
we
right.
can be aware of and that we can control.
Fantastic. Well, we're finishing now, Lynn. Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to chat with you. And I'd love to do another chat with you soon.
That would be wonderful. It's been lovely to talk with you, Medine, too. So thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, everyone.